Yeah.
Kita? Okay. So, as I mentioned, the group actually
Yes,
was
sir.
presented a good information about data analysis. Now, once again, I understand that it might not be something that you can absorb readily, because despite having taken the course of statistics with Sir Talido, you mentioned earlier that you had a difficulty with even with standard deviation lang, no? So, yun, I understand. Okay lang. The good thing about what we're doing is that recorded naman yung sessions natin so that you can watch this once again at a later time. Soon, I also would like to encourage you to parang attend seminars or webinars that the MAN might be conducting, or even the nursing program, my program will be conducting, related to research, because I also do webinars about data analysis. This one kasi, um, the data analysis is something that you will be doing in the chapters 3 and 4 of your research, meaning this is part of your parang thesis 2 na subject. No, so it might come as a parang advanced na lesson, ano, because um as early as now you're learning how to analyze data which you have not collected yet. So I understand that's a difficulty. Anyway, but ang point ko lang na yon, as I recap sa the present earlier na data, is to parang apply what we have learned so far, and discuss what is the most common data analysis method that we use in in the master's degree. Okay. Now, as I have mentioned, um, most of what has been discussed earlier is actually pertaining to quantitative na research, na quantitative. So I'll be in my recap now. I'll be discussing as well an overview about how to analyze qualitative data. Okay, so let's start. So the first information that I'll be sharing to you is actually the levels of measurement. No, you mentioned earlier that you already had this one with Sir Talidong, but allow me to parang recall na sort of have a recap about the levels of measurement. We have 4 levels of measurement. We have the nominal. Who reported this one? May I have the reporter, please? I think that was Mr. Wait lang ah.
Sir Valias, sir.
Sir Valies. When I say nominal, it pertains to name variables. No, technically, when you say nominal, these are variable. This is the level of measurement that you use for um, just naming things. No, nominal. When you say ordinal, as the name suggests, may order. So pag mga ranking ka, first year, second year, third year, fourth year students, for instance, that's an example of an ordinal data. Now, arguably, no, these two are actually the least na level of measurement. Technically, when you say least, ito yung when you're talking about determining which of the following levels of measurement is much more reliable, pinaka-least reliable si nominal and ordinal. Okay? When you want to classify if what types of data yung generate ni nominal and ordinal, this is actually what we call as the qualitative. No? Qualitative yung data niya. Sir, di ba kwan man ni siya kanang di ba ang levels of measurement kaysa quantitative research man kanang naay qualitative data, sir? Have you asked yourselves about that? Uh, Nominal or ordinal, so qualitative siya, pero remember, levels of measurement is only something that we discuss for quantitative research. So why is this now? Now you have to remember na even in quantitative researches, may two types of data tayo, qualitative and qualitative and quantitative. Now, obviously, si interval and si ratio, what types of data man sila? Quali, quanti. Hello?
Quantitative, sir.
Quantitative, no? Quantitative data. I'll tell you the reason why, no? As I have mentioned, just a recap, levels of measurement we have four. The first two, nominal, ordinal. You say you're just describing things or naming things, that's nominal. When you are describing plus organizing them according to ranks, meaning first year, second year, third year, fourth year, or freshman, junior, sophomore, junior, senior, that's ordinal. Okay? Kapag you're dealing with data na may range na, may range or may interval na in between. For example, temperature, 36.5 to 36.0, or 1 to 5, mga range na yan. That's already an interval data. Okay? Now, when you talk about ratio, may absolute zero yung data. In short, yung interval and ratio, you're counting things already. No, you're counting things. Unlike say nominal and ordinal, you're just describing and organizing things according to order. Kaya, kasi primarily, si nominal and ordinal is only parang focused on describing variables. They are termed as qualitative data. Okay? Yun yung reason bakit qualitative yung tawag sa data niya. Because you're just describing things. You're not counting anything pa. No? You're not calculating kung may absolute zero ba or something, mga ganun. So just naming things, describing things, qualitative data. Then you're already counting for intervals, ranges, or presence of absolute zeros. That becomes now quantitative data. Okay? So yun yung apat natin na levels of measurement. Now you might ask me, sir, what's the relevance why we need to know what are the different levels of measurement? Now depending kasi on the data that you gather per variable, magde-depend din doon what statistical tool are you going to use. Okay, ulitin natin. Now, depending on the level of measurement the level of measurement will influence what statistical tool are you going to use in your data analysis. Lang, ipipresent ko yan later further. Okay? But yun lang. Ipipresent ko lang muna yung levels of measurement natin. Nominal, ordinal, interval, ratio. As presented, this is actually the correct depiction of the parang leveling of these levels of measurement. Pinakamababa si nominal, pinakamataas na level or pinaka-accurate na data si ratio. Okay? So let's continue. Yeah. So to parang further discuss what are these data or levels of measurement, we have this another slide. When you say nominal, as I mentioned, description lang, no? So examples of this data can be marital status. When you say marital status, diba, single, married, widowed, ganun. You also have your type of car owned. Okay? So technically, wala pang counting na nangyayari. No? You're just describing things. That's nominal data. Now with ordinal, as the name suggests, yung keyword natin dito is ranking, no? Ranking or order, no? So example, service quality rating, high, very high, ganun. Student letter grades, diba? A, B, C, D, diba? When you get a grade of A, that means you are nasa mataas na rank, no? When you get a grade of B, tapos you compare your grade to someone na may grade na A, it means na mas mataas yung student na nakakuha ng A sa'yo. Okay? So, yan ang tawag doon, ordinal data. Kapag interval data naman, you're dealing with numbers but there is no absolute zero. Example is temperature in Fahrenheit. For example, you have temperature, for instance. 0 degrees Celsius is not totally zero. It does not mean na 0 degrees Celsius walang temperature sa environment. They say 0 degrees Celsius, although it's zero in terms of Celsius, it has a corresponding equivalent data, numerical data, when you convert that to Fahrenheit. Okay? So yun. The zero is not absolute. Kumbaga, that's the key difference between an interval data and a ratio data. Okay? Ano pa? Standardized exam score. So for example, zero, di ba? When you get a quiz score of zero, it does not mean na yung percentage mo niyan is really zero, di ba? Di ba pag nagsi-60-40 ka, the equivalent of zero is 40%. Di ba? So zero is not really zero. That's the key characteristic of an interval data. But when you compare interval data to ordinal nominal data, what you can actually observe is that sa interval, may numbers na, may counting of actual numbers. But the difference between an interval and ratio data, sa interval data, the zero is not absolute. Okay? Now, with ratio data, zeros here are really zeros. Okay? So, example, age na zero. So, that's really zero. Okay? Ano pa? Weekly food spending. So for example, wala akong gagastusin ngayon. That's really zero. You can convert that zero to another form of data. So yun lang yung difference talaga ni ratio and interval data. With ratio data, there is an absolute zero in the counting of your measurements or your data. Okay? Ano pa? Number of pregnancies. Ano ba? Zero. Walang conversion sa iba yun. Number of boyfriends, girlfriends. That's a ratio data. Zero. Zero, zero yun. Oh my God. Okay? Ano pa? One yun. No, di pa sabot nga na kay one nga uyab na converted na siya. Pasabot na lang na ay one nga uyab na ako'y tulo ko uyab. Dili nga na. No. Ratio is really ratio. You get the data as is. Okay? So these are the different types of data that we have. Once again, the relevance why we need to learn about the why we need to know what data or what level of measurement ang kailangan for each type of data is because the type of data that you have influences once again the statistical tool that you're going to use in analyzing it. Okay? Sige. Let's continue. Okay na natin na-discuss naman ni earlier, no? So once again, kung ang kabuuan ng gusto mong maging participant, that's what we call as population. But remember, once again, as per discussion natin last week, we don't get the total population. What we only get is the sample, the subset of the population. Ano pa? When you're dealing with statistical data involving the whole population, ang tawag is parameter. Kapag si sample lang, the correct term is statistic. Okay, sige lang. Ito na, okay, review na lang na siya. Okay, now once again, na-mention ito kanina ni Sir Valles, right? The difference between descriptive statistics and inferential statistics. So once again, as the name suggests, statistics is a tool, no? It's a tool that we use to get data, unorganized data, no, statistics. Now, there are two types, once again, of statistics. We have descriptive and inferential statistics. Now, descriptive statistics are used to describe a mass of data in a clear and concise and informative way. Simply put, when you say descriptive statistics, these are the tools that you use to present the data as is. Present lang. No? You're just describing the data with the use of these tools. That's what we call as descriptive statistics. When you compare that to inferential statistics, sa inferential statistics, these are the tools that you use to analyze data. Okay? To make inferences out of the data. Okay, so I'll tell you later. So, descriptive or inferential. Later, we will compare now the two data because it's much more easy to appreciate if you can really see actual data. So, yun lang yun. I'll have to if there is something that I need you to remember, there are two types of statistics, descriptive and inferential. And when you say descriptive statistics, as the name suggests, these are the statistics, the numbers used to describe variables. Kapag inferential statistics, these are the tools that we use to make inferences, to make conclusions out of the data that we have gathered. Now, once again, we have to answer this question. Why do we need actually this was a question asked by Sir Isagoniat earlier. Why do we need this? Why do we need to learn this one? Now, specifically, why do we need to compute for inferential statistics? Now, you have to remember that when you do research, you can't get everyone. I mean, you can't survey everyone. Diba na-mention natin nito sa sampling technique last week. Supposing you need to get the sentiment of the Filipino nurses towards the response at the DOH sa COVID-19, for instance, you can't survey all of the Filipino nurses, no? All throughout the Philippines. So, with that being said, ang dapat mong kunin is di yung population but rather the sample lang. So, by the process, the process of making inferences, making conclusions, kahit na we just get data from a sample or a subset of that population, that's what we term as inferential statistics. So simply put, with those inferential statistics, to make approximate guesses or approximate conclusions na kahit na hindi ko sinurvey lahat ng tao, and ang sinurvey ko lang is a portion of that total population, I can still make inferences and generalizations. Okay, so this is what we mean here sa ating presentation. There is a large set of population. Remember, hindi natin sinisurvey lahat. Ang sinisurvey natin, subset lang. No? Smaller set of population. But even though konti lang yung ating sinurvey, because of inferential statistics, we can still accurately or in a way conclusively make inferences and generalizations from the data that we have gathered from the small set of the population. Okay, so yun. That's the reason why we do inferential statistics, so that we can make conclusions kahit na konti lang yung data na nakuha natin. I mean, nagkuha nating data from a small set of the population. Okay, so that's the reason why we do inferential statistics. Now these are the things that I want you to parang to be reminded of, guys. No, the data na p-value. When you have to remember that when you make inferences, you are actually deciding, deciding if you are going to reject or accept null hypothesis. Remember pa si null hypothesis? Sa mga kuan rin. Ito itong reporters na to. We have Sir Isagon, please. Sir Isagon?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so give me an example of a null hypothesis.
It tells that there is no difference exists between population, or there is no correlation exists between variables in population, sir.
Okay, very good, no? So allow me to tweak that example. So sinabi ni Sir Isagon, null hypothesis is phrased like this, no? There is no correlation between A and B, or there is no difference between A and B. So once again, that is what we call as the null hypothesis. So kabaliktaran niya, with the research or alternative hypothesis, the phrasing goes like this, no? There is a relationship between A and B, or there is a difference between A and B. Okay, so going back to our topic, when we make inferences, we look at the p-value or the significant value ng ating statistics. Now, I will not go deeper as to paano i-calculate specifically. As you have mentioned, you have covered this once in your statistics, no? So, allow me to highlight lang na when we make decisions in our statistics, we look at the p-value. Now, the p-value, parang determinant niya, we reject. Sige, sulat natin, ha? Yeah. P-value. Now, the smaller the p-value, the stronger will be the evidence against the null hypothesis. Once again, example ng null hypothesis is there is no relationship between A and B. Meaning, A and B represents the variables. Okay? In research kasi, in research, we have to remember, di ba, ang general goal natin is that to prove na there is something new with our status quo. Pasabot, ang atong status quo is there is no relationship between A and B, right? Now, when we do research, we want to prove otherwise. Okay? We want to prove that instead of there is no relationship, we want to prove that there is relationship. Kaya, null hypothesis natin si there is no, because that's the status quo. That's what we have right now. Nakuha? So, once again, what we have right now is there is no relationship between A and B. And we do research because we want to prove that there is a relationship. Sir, hindi there is no, there is a relationship. Yun yung point natin when we do research. That's why the null hypothesis in this case is there is no relationship. Now, in order for us to accept, or reject this null hypothesis, in order for us to accept that there really is no relationship, or in order for us to reject na hindi, may relationship po ang A and B. In order for us to know that, we have to look at the, anong value yun? The p-value. Now, the p-value can vary, okay? Depending on the tawag niyan, depending on the statistics that you use, no? But generally, when you look at p-value, the usual data, I mean value, is 0.05. But it can also be 0.01, okay? 0.01 meaning 1%. Meaning ang allowable mo, I mean, the lesser the number kasi, the smaller the p-value, the stronger will be the evidence against null hypothesis. Meaning, kung for example, you go with 0.01, its impression on the readers is that, okay, maayog yun ang evidence kay ang atong gina-accept lang gud kay 0.05 pero siya the data is significant on 0.01, so meaning there is really a good evidence in this research, parang ganun. But once again, let's go back, no? Basta p-value usually 0.05. Now, when deciding, ito ha, when you want to now determine if we are to parang reject or accept the null hypothesis, we look at the p-value. Specifically, we reject the null hypothesis if the p-value is less than or equal to, dapat ko, no? Less than 0.05. Nakuha. Otherwise, if the p-value is greater than 0.05, we have to fail to reject the null hypothesis. Nakuha? Sige. Let's have an example. If your p-value is 0.06, what's the decision? Reject or accept the null hypothesis?
Accept.
Accept, sir.
Accept the null
Accept.
hypothesis. Sige? Baliktad. Okay? If the p-value is 0.06, what's our decision?
Accept.
Accept null hypothesis. What's the interpretation?
There is
No
Let's go back to the example. There is no relationship between A and B. So,
There
paano
is
man?
relationship.
A and B.
There is
So, what-
relationship.
If our example is there is no relationship between A and B. If my p-value is 0.06, you said that the decision is accept null hypothesis. Or in other words, it can also be, ang appropriate kasi nito guys, statistically speaking, is dapat fail to reject.
No.
Dapat fail to reject din ang term.
Oo.
But anyway, parehara na siya, no? Accept null or fail to reject null. When you accept the null, what should be the interpretation now? Or what should be the conclusion? There is
A
There is
relationship.
relationship. There is a relationship between A and B.
balik. Balik.
There is no
Oh, very good. There is no relationship. Dili ka mag-accept between A.
A and B.
Balik ta. Our example is, ang ating null hypothesis is there is no relationship, right? That's the null hypothesis. No? That's the null hypothesis. Now, if our p-value is our decision, sa ating decision-making process earlier, no? Let's go here, decision rule. If the p-value is less than 0.05, what should be the decision? Reject or accept?
Reject.
Reject. Okay? If p-value is less than 0.05, what's the decision?
Reject.
Reject null hypothesis. If the p-value is greater than your alpha value or your 0.05, what's the decision?
Accept.
Okay, accept or fail to
Or fail to
reject
reject.
null hypothesis. Now, our first example is, ano yung first example natin? P-value of 0.06. What's the decision?
Accept or fail
Accept
to
na.
reject.
Very good. What's the interpretation?
There is
No relationship
A.
between A and B. Very good. Another example. If my p-value is 0.02, what's the decision?
Reject.
Okay, reject the null hypothesis. So when we reject the null hypothesis, how should the interpretation be phrased?
There is
There
a
is a relationship
Very good. No?
between
There
A and
is
B.
a relationship between A and B. So remember that one, guys. Okay, whenever you look at data, whenever you look at specifically inferential statistics na data, always look at the p-value first. No, try to see if that data is significant or not. No, kasi kung more than the alpha value ganyan p-value, in other words, if it's more than 0.05, it means na walay pulos ang, dili man sa walay pulos. We have to accept the null hypothesis, meaning there is no relationship or there is no difference sa variables na gina-study sa researcher. Nakuha? So that's how you when you look at data, always look at the p-value first. Okay? When you treat your data soon, when I say treat, when you statistically treat it, meaning you undergo it with, you subject it to statistical analysis, you look at the p-value first before looking at the other values. Okay? Kasi kung muna kag tanaw sa lain, yung p-value day kay insignificant, walay pulos imong interpretation. Okay, so you look at the p-value first. Okay? So ito yan na, I want you to remember this one. If the p-value is less than the alpha value, reject the null. If it's more than the p-value, you have to accept the null or fail to reject the null. Okay? So let's continue. Do you have questions before we proceed sa p-value? Wala naman. Sige.
None,
So,
sir.
ito, in this example, sige, this is a t-test, no? This is a t-test, one-tailed specifically na t-test. But I want you to interpret this one. Look at the p-value. What should be my decision? The alpha value is always 0.05. Okay. So, looking at this p-value, what should be my conclusion? What should be my decision? By the way, basta din
Reject pa rin.
Reject
Opo, reject po.
Reject.
Bakit reject?
Less
0.0.
Very good. It's less than 0.05. So the decision, no, the decision should be reject the null hypothesis. This example is actually ang tawag niyan, the situation is goes like this, no. It is of the interest, no? It is of the interest to determine if swimmers take less than 60 seconds on average to finish a 100-meter butterfly leg. 5 swimmers from a professional team were randomly selected and their times were recorded. Use 5% level of significance. Okay, so if that was your interpretation, this should be your conclusion. So if we rejected the null hypothesis, the interpretation should be there is sufficient evidence that the mean time of swimmers to finish a 100-meter butterfly leg is less than 60 seconds. Okay? Di ba, remember, balik na. Ang interest, ang gusto may bawaan ninyo, ang gusto nato may bawaan is to determine if the swimmers take less than 60 seconds or not. Okay? What's our null hypothesis here? The null hypothesis is, hello mga ate. What's our null hypothesis? If that is your goal, that is your interest, it is of interest to determine if swimmers take less than 60 seconds to finish a 100-meter butterfly leg. So the null hypothesis should be phrased in what way? There is, or say the swimmers
Has no.
Dili, ano man ang null hypothesis dito? Once again, diba akong example earlier, when you do research, it's something that you don't currently have. Okay, so in this case, null hypothesis, the swimmers do not take less than 60 seconds to finish 100-meter butterfly leg. Nakuha? Bakit ganito yung null hypothesis natin? Hello. So ang null nito is the swimmers. The alternative hypothesis is the swimmers do
Take less than 60 seconds to finish a 100-meter butterfly leg.
Okay, very good. Butterfly leg. Okay, so this is our alternative hypothesis. So once again, when we already know this one, since we already know now what's the null and what's the alternative hypothesis, if our p-value, okay, if our p-value is less than 0.05, what will be our hypothesis? Is it the null or the alternative hypothesis? If the p-value is less than 0.05, is it this one or this one?
The alternative hypothesis.
Alternative.
Very good. No? The alternative hypothesis. If our p-value is more than our level of significance or our alpha value, what should be our hypothesis?
The null.
The null hypothesis. So nakuha. So, buot pasabot anak karon, okay, one-tailed lang man siya, the interpretation is this. there is sufficient evidence that the mean time of swimmers to finish a 100-meter butterfly leg is really less than 60 seconds because we rejected the null hypothesis. So nakuha ni siya. So once again, no, when you look at data, this is actually the data that you can get from the SPSS directly, no, or from R. Depende kung saan mo ginagamit to statistically treat the data using a computer application. Now, whatever the application may be, look at the p-value first. No? Try to make sense if you have to reject the null hypothesis or accept the null hypothesis. Nakuha? Now let's continue. Okay. Now we will now apply what we have learned so far in our discussion, in our paper, in our manuscript. So this is an example of a conceptual framework. No, the independent variable here is the knowledge and attitude of the patients towards wound care. The dependent variable is compliance to wound care. So, compliance in terms of medication, diet, exercise, wound, and dressing. Tapos may demographic profile sa baba na age, sex, monthly income, educational attainment. Now, when you look at this data, iba-iba yun. We're going to use both descriptive and inferential statistics. No? When you look at this data kasi, the demographic profile, you are not concluding anything. You're just describing ilan sa respondents mo ang teenage, ilan sa respondents mo ang matanda na, ilan sa respondents mo ang middle age. Sa sex, ilan ang males, ilan ang females. Monthly income, ilan daw nag-income ng 10,000 and below, 10,000 to 20,000, 20,000 to 30,000. And lastly, educational attainment. You're just describing who among your respondents have finished college degree or high school graduate lang. So with that being said, anong levels of measurement ang ating gagamitin dito? Sige daw. Remembering what we have discussed so far, if we are trying to identify age, sex, monthly income, and educational attainment of our respondents, what data is this? Both nominal and
ordinal.
Nominal and ordinal. Sige, sir, bakit saan dito si nominal? Sige, let me ask you this one. What age? Is it nominal or ordinal?
Ordinal.
So mukha sa
Ordinal.
Null. No? Okay, it can be both, no? Kung for example, ang presentation nimo is just kanang just the age, no? 16 to 20, parang ganun. That's basically nominal. If you want to parang rank them according to senior citizen, gusto mong i-rank yung age nila, pwede din ordinal. So it can be both. But basically, this is just a description. So nominal and ordinal, yung answers niyo earlier are correct. Ano pa? Sex. Nabay rank ang sex? Better ba ang male sa female or otherwise? Better ba ang female sa male? Wala.
Nominal.
So what level of measurement is this one? Nominal.
Nominal.
Monthly income?
Ordinal.
Oh, diba? Pwedeng ordinal, diba? Kaya na may mga, diba, when you look at monthly income, mas nag-earn of 20 to 30, mas dako sa 10 to 20, mga nga. So it can be ordinal, it can be nominal. No? It can be ordinal. Okay? Educational attainment.
Nominal.
Diba na may for example, kanang in terms of nahuman, kasi may mas taas in terms of rank. Katong nahuman og college o nahuman og high school.
College.
Diba? So, ordinal siya. Diba? It can be ranked man. Okay? So, yun. So, if this is your level of measurement, nominal, ordinal, what statistics do you think are we going to use in this one? Descriptive or inferential? Very good. Descriptive statistics. Okay? So nakuha, when we talk about descriptive statistics kasi, these are tools, once again, statistical tools that we use to describe things. And remember, what type of data yung nagde-describe and nag-order ng types of data. That's nominal and ordinal data. So when you look at nominal and ordinal data, always think of descriptive statistics. Now, sir, what are examples of descriptive statistics? Frequency and percentage. Sige lang, ipakita na ko na later sa example. So descriptive. This is an example of a descriptive statistics. So, di ba? You are just, once again, as I mentioned, you are just describing things. No? So you can describe things on the basis of how many ang senior citizen, how many ang males, how many ang females. So when you do that, that's frequency and percentage. Frequency, di ba, ginaiyap ni mo kung pila sila. Na-discuss na ni ganina ni Sir Valias yata yun. Okay? Now, look at the other data sa taas. Look at the data here. You want to know the knowledge attitude and you want to know the compliance on wound care. So, this is actually gathered. Yung data dito is gathered by counting, right? Kung knowledge, magpa-quiz ka. Kung attitude, magpa-scale ka from a scale of 1 to 5. What is your agreement towards this statement? Diba? So, you will be counting things. No? And getting their central tendency. Yun na-mention ni Sir Valias earlier. So, if that is your data, what do you think is the level of measurement here? Is it still nominal or ordinal?
Interval.
Pwede na siya, pwedeng interval, no? Pwede din siyang ratio data. But usually, di ba, kung tayo magpa-quiz ka, na kay 0, tapos 0 lang yun, wala kay percentage. So that can be ratio data. 0 is really 0. Meaning, 0 lang yun yung score. Okay? Unsa pa? Compliance. If compliance nimo is really 0, it's really 0. Good. So the type of data here sa independent and dependent variable ninyo are already interval and ratio data. So when you're talking about interval and ratio data, what type of statistics are we going to use? Inferential statistics or descriptive statistics?
Inferential.
Inferential statistics. Now give me an example of an inferential statistics. Salamat sa inyong atensyon. It can be Pearson R. Yung sinabi ni Sir kanina, it can be Spearman-Rowe. Ano pa, kung we're talking about difference, kada ito, when you're trying to determine relationships, sana all. If you're trying to determine relationships, so look at Pearson R or Spearman-Rowe. Pwede din chi-square, no? Pwede din chi-square. Chi-square for relationships, no? Pwede din ganun. If you are trying to find differences, meaning you're trying to compare two variables, anong gagamitin natin? It can be ANOVA, it can be t-test, tama? Pinadunggan ng t-test. Ano pa? Z-test?
Z-test.
Unsa pa man? Ano mga difference? Actually, pwede gyapon chi-square. Napoy chi-square nga kanang for the difference, no? So, dagan og purpose si chi-square depending on how you intend to use it. But anyway, ito yun, no? These are the differences. This is the basic difference between an inferential statistics and descriptive statistics. When you look at the descriptive statistics, you can conclude anything. You can just say that the majority of your respondents are females, majority of my respondents are staff nurses, but that's it. No? When you look at inferential statistics, you can determine if there really is a relationship between two or more variables or whether there really is a difference between two or more variables. Okay, so you can make conclusions, you can make generalizations when you have interval and ratio data. Okay, so nakuha ang types of data that the levels of measurement, the relevance why we need to learn descriptive and inferential statistics, and what are the different tools that we have in inferential and descriptive statistics. Descriptive statistics. Nakuha na siya. Any questions?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Sige.
Yes, sir.
We'll proceed later. No? So once again, as mentioned in you earlier, we don't need to, go with how the calculations should be done. Kasi if you're going to go with that one, I can teach you a little bit about the inferential statistics, but we will not go there primarily because, as mentioned by Sir Isagon yata earlier, we have tools already that can do that. However, I'd like to parang kinsa tong nagsulti kanina na we don't need to know how to compute this one. Actually, when you reach the thesis making of your paper, one of the things that will be an obstacle for you is actually how to interpret the numbers and how to verify if the numbers provided to you by your statistician are really correct or not. Okay? With that being said, you need to know how the data are collected and how to interpret the data that has been collected. Because at the end of the day, kapag magde-defense ka na, you do not have your statistician with you. Okay? So, what I'm trying to say is, although hindi kayo yung magko-compute, you have to know, you have to have a basic knowledge about how the calculations were done. So and of course, most importantly, you also have to know how to interpret the numbers. The numbers are just numbers when they are not interpreted. Okay, so you should know how to make sense of the data. Nakuha? Okay, so yun. I would agree na that we have statisticians already, but aside from, I actually encourage my own advices to parang seek professional help, especially if you don't know how to compute for your own. I mean, yeah, do your own statistical treatments. No, you can ask for help sa statistician, but once again, you have to know what's the process behind and how to interpret the data, because at the end of the day, ikaw lang po na mabili na during the defense. Okay. So, yun. I hope this is clear because we'll now proceed to the next one. Don't worry, we will end before 12 noon for this morning session. And later, continue to one. Okay. Now, look at the data here. No, look at this sample. This is a statement of the problem. Parang I gathered from one of the samples. I mean, one of the papers of my advices. No? So look at the number 1. What is the demographic profile of the respondents in terms of age, sex, monthly income, and educational attainment? We have discussed this one earlier, but I want you to answer this one. If this is your research question, what's the statistical tool that we're going to use?
Frequency.
Very good. Frequency and percentage. No? Frequency and percentage. Okay, why? Because once again, this is just an ordinal or nominal data, a combination of nominal and ordinal data. So pag ganun yung mga data mo, chances are what we're using na statistical tools are frequency and percentage. Okay, now let's continue with the next research question. Look at number 2. What is the level of knowledge and attitude on wound care of the respondents? Sir Valias, what? Sir Valias, are you around?
Yes, sir.
And even 2 and number 3, no, research question number 3. For 2 and 3, what statistical tool are we going to use with these types of data? Do we still need to use descriptive statistics in this case?
Inferential, sir.
Dili pa, no? Okay, once again, descriptive pa. Yeah po. One advice pala, no, na you can probably keep in mind when trying to look up the research questions and trying to identify ano kaya ang gagamitin na research na statistical tool ko for this one. Look at the stem of the question. If may mga ganito na ganito, is there a significant association? Is there a significant association? Is there a relationship? Kapag ingana na ganyan kuan, that's the time you're going to give an inferential statistic. Okay? Kapag what is the level? What is the level? Diba? Think of that STEM na question. What is the level? So technically, I'm still describing the level of compliance ng aking respondents. But unlike sa number 1, na what is the demographic profile na frequency and percentage, ang gagamitin natin dito is central tendency. So, what do you think is the most appropriate measure of central tendency dito, Sir Valias? And you're trying to get the knowledge or attitude of the respondents or the level of compliance. Usually kasi pag nag-gather ka ng data dito, you're asking the respondents to parang from a scale of 1 to 5, what is your level of agreement? Diba? Tapos kukunin mo yung average. Ano yung central tendency pag average yung kinukuha?
Mean.
Very good, mean. Ano nga yung central tendency kung kanang we are basing our data on the most common data? Anong level of anong central tendency yun?
Mode.
Yung nasa gitna.
Median.
Very good. But in this case, once again, kasi whenever you get the average of the scores, the average attitude, the average compliance, that's mean already. Okay, so the correct answer to this one, if you're asked by your panelists, for research questions number 2 and 3, what statistical tool are you going to use? The correct answer to this one is mean. Nakuha?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Look at 4 and 5. 4 and 5. 4 and 5. Okay, look at 4 and 5. What are the variables that we are associating? Diba? When you say associating, we're trying to determine if there is a relationship or wala. Diba? So what do you think is what are the variables that we are trying to associate here?
Demographic profile.
Demographic profile and
Knowledge and attitude.
knowledge and attitude. So, what type, once again, what type of data sa demographic profile? Is it an ordinal interval? Ay, sorry, ito na lang. Let me rephrase my question. Is the level of measurement for the demographic profile the same with the knowledge and attitude? Level of measurement.
No.
No.
Di-
No, sir.
Sa demographic profile, what's the level of measurement? Yung kanina natin na-discuss.
Percentage.
Hindi, level of measurement. When you say level of measurement, what type of data? Very good.
Nominal.
Nominal or
Nominal.
ordinal, di ba? Knowledge and attitude.
Ratio.
Interval.
Di ba? Pwede siyang
Interval.
interval or ratio, di ba? Yung sinabi ko earlier. So, with that being said, are they the same or not?
No.
Oh.
Wala.
No.
So,
No.
I don't know if this has been discussed to you. Na-discuss pa na ni Sir Talidong ang assumptions sa inyo? Assumptions in making use of parametric and non-parametric test?
Wala, sir.
Ay, wala.
Wala, sir.
Sige. Ako na lang i-simplify. Sige. Kapag yung gani guys, no, there are differences in the types of levels of measurement ng data ninyo or the types of data. For example, you want to correlate you want to correlate an interval data with a ratio data with a nominal data. You're not going to use Pearson R. Ganon. So in this case, allow me to answer na lang my own question. So kapag is there a significant association, what we usually use is chi-square. Okay? We can also chi-square. We can also use Cramer's V, but rare na yun. Ito na lang, chi-square. With number 5, chi-square pa rin. Okay? Chi-square for associations. Kapag number 6, na level of attitude, what are the variables natin sa number 6, guys? Knowledge, attitude, and
Compliance.
do they have the same are they the same in terms of type of data? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, right?
Yes.
So supposing na normal yung data na actually na-discuss ba ni Sir Talido ang normality of data? Lapod. Sige na, ano na lang. No? Basta kaya ang point is, pag same, ano na lang, let me simplify na lang. If the variables have the same type of data, say for example, yung nasa number 6, tapos you want to correlate them, the tool that you're going to use is Pearson R.
Pearson.
Okay? Kung Pearson R ang gagamitin when you have satisfied all of the assumptions before you can use this one. Or kung hindi man Pearson R, you can also use Spearman Rho. But usually, ang ginagamit natin is Pearson R. Okay? Then number 7, based on the findings, what intervention program may be proposed? Wala nang statistical tool dito. But look at the question. Based on the findings, what intervention program? So ang ina-ask is the program na. Parang yung sinabi ni Sir Kabibil earlier, diba? After you have gathered the data and after you have made conclusions of the data, you are now going to discuss the implications of those data. So this is the point wherein you're now going to make your implications of your data. Now, specifically in this example, ang ina-ask sa iyo is what intervention are you now going to propose based on the data that you have gathered. So nakuha si research questions. How to look at research questions. Sige. May question? Sige. Wala? Sige, let's proceed. So, this is actually a simple guide that I will share to you, no, in determining what statistical tool are you going to use, no, for your data. If you are trying to determine relationships, look at this one. Relationships of two variables, look at the type of data. If the data are both nominal, you use chi-square. If the data are both interval or ratio, you use correlation. Yun yung sinabi ko earlier, right? Now, if you want to compare, no, two means or compare two variables, look at the means, no? If the means, di ba meron tayong parametric, merong statistical. I can't recall sino yung nag-discuss nito earlier. But anyway, if you are trying to parang compare a sample mean and a population mean, ang gagamitin is z-test. If ang alam mo lang is if what you only know is the sample mean, you use t-test. Now, if you are trying to compare two sample means, you can use independent sample t-test or paired t-test. Okay, so mo na siya ang sample. I'll give you to you no para soon when you reach the chapter parang yan, chapter 3 of your data, and even when you propose this one to your panelists when you defend your paper, maka-discuss na ka kung pautanong ka sa imong panelists to with research question number 1, what statistical tool are you going to use? For example, pangutanong mo gingan na, so makatubag na mo no, pag-abot na sa statistical questions, so what statistical tool are you going to use with that type of question? Tapos sasabihin mo z-test, sir. Namingan din ng panelist na bakit z-test? So you can now discuss na okay, I'm going to use z-test because the means that I'll be collecting is the means from my samples and my population. Di ba? Kung na kay Kamal, dito na kay kapaminawon. But anyway, my point is this can guide you in determining what statistical test are you going to use when you analyze your data. Okay? Now, this is how you discuss your statistical tools in your paper. I'll give this one. Actually, I have given this one as well. Just try to read this one and go, okay. Mo din yung pasabot ni Sir earlier about statistical tools. And remember, when you discuss statistical tools, you don't have to define them. In your paper, you don't have to define the statistical tool. You just discuss what will those tools be used for. Okay? Proceed tayo, samples. So this is an example of how to present data since present earlier how to present data. No? So number 1 tool that we use in presenting data is using tables. So this is an example of a table. Reminders ko lang when you make a tables, di ba, as what you can notice, walang horizontal lines, right? Kita niyo? So you have to omit the horizontal lines. Naka siya, naka-open ng table. No? Ano pa? You highlight, no? My advice is, of course, this is a format of Davao Doc, but in Davao Doc, you have to highlight what's the in demographic profile na table. You have to highlight sino yung lowest scorer and highest scorer. Okay? Highest, lowest. Highest, lowest, highest, lowest. Okay? Now, when you discuss, of course, it's not enough that you just make a table, diba? Once again, you have to, after making the table, you have to discuss it. You have to make sense of the table. So you have to discuss this one narratively. But before you discuss, of course, allow me to highlight the statistical tool that we used here, frequency and percentage. Okay? So sa frequency dito, as the name suggests, binibilang mo lang ilan yung ang age is less than below 25. Ilan sa respondents ang 25 to 30, ilan sa respondents ang 31 to 35, and so on. Frequency. Then, after counting, you are now going to identify what is ano yung percentage ng contribution ng 3 respondents na ito. So, nandito yan sa percentage na side. The total percentage should be 100, of course. No? The total frequency should be equal to the number of respondents that you had in your study. Okay? So, yun. No? That's for the demographic profile. So, once again, open ang table. Hina-highlight natin usually si highest and lowest. And highest, lowest per indicator. So, age, sex, education attainment, monthly income. Then, when you discuss this one, ang pattern is highest. No? The pattern of discussion. Allow me to, yan. The pattern, usually natin pina-follow. Discuss highest score, no? Highest, then lowest, then overall score. So, in other words, look at this one. Ang i-discuss lang natin na data dito pala is the highest, the lowest, and the overall. Sorry. Sorry. So, demographic profile pala. This is applicable for this pattern. This pattern is applicable for means. Pag demographic profile pala, allow me to correct myself, no? Highest, lowest lang. Highest, lowest. Okay? Overall, see, overall is only discussed for means, which I will be showing to you later. Sige. Yan. Ito. So, as I mentioned earlier, ano yun? Highest, lowest, and overall. Okay? So, ang pattern, pag mag-discuss na kag means, such as this one, level of compliance on wound care, look at the highest. In what aspect of compliance, mataas yung ating respondents. In what aspect in the compliance, mababa or mahihirapan mag-comply ang ating respondents. Then, after discussing the highest and lowest, you are now going to discuss, so generally now, what's the level of compliance ng ating respondents? So, look at the overall. Ang ibang students din, they actually follow the pattern na overall, highest, lowest. Pwede ding overall, lowest, highest. No? Pwede there is actually there is no standard in terms of how you should discuss how you should discuss your results, but it should be uniform. So for example, yung pattern mo for one research question should be the same with the pattern that you're going to apply or use in discussing the results of another research question. Basin karon there is a research question number 2, ang imong pattern kay highest, lowest, overall. Pero pag abot nimo sa research question 3 kay nagkuan ka overall, lowest, highest. Diba? So it actually, some panelists have an issue with that one because it should the discussion, the pattern should be uniform. So you have to, para safe, uniform na lang. Okay? So nakuha yung pattern of discussion natin. Now,
Yes.
okay, sige, let's continue now. So means pa lang man siya. So we are still on the descriptive statistics. We are now nearing the discussion about, inferential statistics. But before I go there, I would like to emphasize the report of, nakalimutan ko nag-report kanina. Wait lang was it Binanwa yata yun? Binanwa? Correct me if I'm wrong. You presented this one, ma'am, no? Yung mga organization of data.
Yes po, sir.
No. Sige. So, na-present ni ma'am earlier, if you listened to her earlier, one of the, aside from presenting the data in tables, you can also make use of graphs, no? It can be histogram, it can be bar graph. So, what you can see here is a bar graph, an example of a bar graph. So, depending on the research question, the research question may also influence, and the type of data may also influence how should it be presented. So, ang example nito, what you can see here is one of my advisees had conducted a study about determining the knowledge on insulin administration ng kaniyang staff nurses. Now, each question, each item has a separate parang question. Hindi siya same with item number 2, item number 3, and so on. So, ang ginawa niya, instead of presenting the mean, ang present niya, as what you can see here, is present niya ilan sa respondents ang nakatama, yan naka-color blue, and ilan sa respondents niya ang nagkamali. Okay? So, ganito yung kanyang presentation ng kanyang data. So, if you intend to do this one soon, you can also make use of bar graphs. Okay? Dili man gyud siya required nga means yun ang inyong ipakita. Ang iyamang ko dire, this is the presentation of her data because she wants to present anong item pala na hihirapan or di masyadong alam, wala masyadong alam ang kanyang staff nurses. In this example, ito yung item na medyo naglisod ang staff nurses ug tubag. It is followed by this one, this item, and it is followed by this item. Okay? So, pwedeng ganito yung presentation mo. So, once again, these are still descriptive statistics. Now, let's go with the inferential statistics. Now, once again, recall, p-value ang titinan muna before other things. Okay? So, let's proceed. Let's start with correlation. Now, with correlation, you're going to look at two things, guys. No? You're going to look at the p-value. Okay? That's number 1. Look at the p-value. Look at p-value. Then the second one, look at what data? Look at the correlation coefficient. Okay? Now, with correlation coefficient, correlation coefficient. Now, with correlation coefficient, this is how you, this is the normal result of the correlation coefficient. It is negative, the result of R, or the correlation coefficient, it's actually, ang kanyang symbol is R. The result of R, or the correlation coefficient, is only within -1 to 1. Kung nakita ang R value nga 2, gimugna-mugna ra na sa researcher, no? Dili natin noon. The data is not already factual. Okay? So once again, R, the result is either 1 or -1. 1 is the perfect, denotes a perfect positive correlation. -1 denotes a perfect negative correlation. When we say positive correlation, no? When we say positive, ano nga ulit yung actually discuss natin to last time. When you say positive correlation, anong ibig sabihin? When A increases, what happens to B?
Increases din, sir.
Okay, B increases as well.
Yes.
Pag negative ang correlation, when A increases, ano mangyayari kang B? B decreases. Okay? So, balik tayo. Lang kayo na yung join. So, balik tayo. When you have a positive result, for example, 0.6, that indicates that there is a positive relationship. Kapag negative 0.6 naman yung R value nyo, it indicates na may negative relationship ang dalawang variables ninyo. Now, it's not enough. The next question that you have to answer is, it's not enough to identify R kasi, no? So, the next question is, how strong is the relationship? Diba? Same na with any other aspects in life. No? It's not enough to determine, okay, we have a relationship, but we have to determine how strong is that relationship. So we look at this, no? Look at this interpretation table. Okay, once again, as I have told you a while ago, the result is only between +1 to -1. So the interpretation is also like this. No? If your R value is 0.2 to 0.4, it indicates that there is a weak correlation. Kapag more than 0.4, less than 0.6, that's moderate correlation. 0.6 to 0.8, strong. 0.8 to 1, very strong correlation. That's the same with the -1. No? So negative 0.4 to -0.2, that's weak. -0.6 to 0.4, moderate. 0.8 to 0.6, strong. And -1 to 0.8 to -0.8 is very strong correlation. Okay, so let's apply this knowledge. No, let's apply what we have learned so far in our examples in a while. Sige. Yeah. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sige. I want you to interpret the data. Sige. I want you to interpret this data. Yan. Sorry. Ito na lang. Yan. So, ano nga ulit yung step natin? First step, look at
P-value.
very good. Look at the p-value. Look at the p-value. What's the p-value here?
0.000.
So, what's your decision? Reject or null? Reject or accept?
Reject.
Reject the null hypothesis. So, interpret this one daw. Kayo daw. So, if the p-value, no? Sige, I will answer first, then kayo sa later na data. Now, in this example, guys, anong variables natin? The first pair of variables are leadership behavior and organizational commitment. Okay, very good. Now, once again, when you look at correlational data, look at the p-value first. Look at this one, p-value. Okay? If, for example, the p-value is more than 0.05, then you don't have to discuss the R. Okay? So if, for example, the p-value is more than 0.05, you don't need to discuss the R. Why? So you might ask me, sir, ano, sir? Because pag more than 0.05 na yan, ang interpretation mo agad, there is no relationship. So you don't need to look at R. Nakuha? Anong dili na kailangan ng R?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so
Yes, sir.
matong reason why we look at the p-value first. That's the first step. No, look at the p-value first and try to determine if if the null hypothesis is rejected or not, or if it is less than 0.05. If it's less than 0.05, we go to the next step. What's the next step? Look at the R value. Okay, so in this example, my p-value is less than 0.05, so I have to reject the null hypothesis. Now, my conclusion with that data is there is a relationship between leadership behavior and organizational commitment. But we don't stop there. Okay, remember? Alam na natin na may relationship ang dalawa, but we don't know what type of relationship do they have. Is it positive? Is it negative? And another question is, we don't know yet how strong is the relationship between leadership behavior and organizational commitment. So we'll look now to answer those questions. We will look at the R value. The R value is 0.6. What's the 0.6? Does this denote a positive or a negative
Positive.
relationship? Positive relationship. Now answer. What is the strength of the relationship? What's the interpretation of the strength?
Strong.
Can you still recall?
Moderate
Moderate.
correlation.
Moderate correlation.
Look at this one. The result was 0.601. It's more than 0.6. So asa man banda?
Strong
Ah,
correlation.
Moderate and strong.
Nasa dire. No, tama no. Nasa dire. So meaning the interpretation should be strong correlation.
Strong correlation.
Okay? So, sige, balik ta sa akong example. Okay? May p-value, there is a relationship between leadership behavior and organizational commitment. Tama? But once again, is it enough? Dili pa. Okay? There is a relationship nga, but specifically, there is a strong positive relationship between leadership behavior and organizational commitment. Further, anong interpretation dyan? It means that as leadership behavior is increased, organizational commitment is also increased. Nakuha ang pag-interpret?
Yes, sir.
Nakuha? Oh, sige. Sige. Now, at this point, we have two other variables. I want you to answer the next variables. This one. Sige daw, interpret daw ang data. What's the first step?
Look at
Check the p-value.
What's the p-value?
There is a relationship.
0.000.
What's your conclusion?
There is a relationship.
There is a relationship between job satisfaction and organizational commitment.
Very good. The next step is look at the what value?
The R.
R. Okay. Your R value is
Moderate
Moderate.
correlation.
Moderate.
one siya, 0.48. So it's moderate correlation lang. So sige daw. Please enhance your conclusion earlier. There is
a moderate relationship.
sige, there is a moderate positive
Positive
relationship
Job
between
satisfaction
and
organizational commitment.
further, it means that
Job satisfaction increases, organizational commitment increases.
very good, no? When job satisfaction is increased, organizational commitment is increased. Or when job satisfaction increases, organizational commitment increases. Pero ang pinaka-safe ang answer, guys, no, kay kanan. When job satisfaction is increased, organizational commitment is also increased. Dili sa katong akong ang naingon nato earlier na when job satisfaction increases, organizational commitment increases. Because sometimes kasi there is another statistical tool kasi that you will be encountering for advanced statistics. This is what we call as regression analysis. Correlation is not causation kasi, no? Meaning, dili pasabot nga na may relationship, one event caused the another event. No? For example, ganito. Taas ang presyo sa chocolate karon, pero taas po ang incidences sa terrorism. Okay? Ano siya? So ang nga data, you may present that there is an increase in the prices of chocolate. There is also an increase in the incidences of terrorism in the world, no? For example, ganun. But you may correlate the two, no? But you can't state that the increase in the chocolate caused terrorism. Okay? So iba kasi yung dalawa yun. So you can just say na, okay, over time, over the last 10 years, there is an increase in the prices of chocolate, and there also is an increase in the number of incidences of terrorism in the world. So pwedeng may correlation, okay, number lang naman, but may correlation, but it does not mean na the increase in the chocolate caused the terrorism in the country. Parang ganun. Okay, so sige lang. Ayaw na i-complicate in yourself. Look at the data lang ganun lang sa for the meantime. Last example, please. Look at the last variables. What's the first step?
Less
At
than
the p-value.
Less than 0.05. Look at the relationship. Look at the R value.
Negative correlation.
Negative
Correlation.
2.34. So sige daw, please interpret. What's your interpretation? Sige,
There
before you interpret,
is-
what's your decision?
There is a relationship between
Decision
burnout.
mo na. When you say decision, do we reject or accept the null hypothesis?
Reject.
Reject the null
Reject.
hypothesis. So it means that this result further means that there is
There is a
There is
relationship
Between burnout to organizational commitment.
very good. There is a relationship between burnout and organizational commitment. Now we have to specify what relationship is that. Sige daw.
negative correlation.
Negative correlation.
What's the strength? What's the strength? There is a negative.
Weak
Weak
There is a
correlation.
weak. There's a weak
Correlation.
negative correlation between burnout
between
and
burnout
organizational
and
commitment.
Commitment.
This further suggests that
If burnout is
If burnout is increased,
or organizational commitment
commitment decreases.
is decreased.
okay, very good. Very good. When burnout is increased, organizational commitment is decreased. Nakuha?
increase.
Okay, so that is how you interpret. Very good, no? Very good. That is how you interpret your correlational results. Nakuha? Now, next slide. Okay na. Nakuha na ninyo, no? Na-guess naman ninyo yung relationship. Now, with Kwan, if you are trying to, let's go back to Kwan, no? Let's go back to my sample earlier. Wait lang ha. Ito. That's for correlation, right? Now, let's look at the comparison, no? Or the comparative na results. With t-test or z-test, you just look at the p-value, guys. No? You just look at the p-value. If the p-value is less than 0.05, what's the decision?
Reject.
Reject null
Reject.
hypothesis.
Reject.
Now, if you are comparing two variables, tapos reject ang null hypothesis, what is the conclusion? What is the conclusion? There is
There is
There is a relationship.
A relationship.
There is a relationship.
Dili relationship. We are now comparing two things, man. Comparing. What's the keyword pag comparing?
There is a comparison.
Dili comparison. Diba, last meeting.
Difference.
Yes, very good. The keyword
The difference.
is difference. Diba? Ang stem sa question is there a significant difference between A and B? So paano natin siya i-conclude using that phrase? So there is a difference between A and nakuha?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so ang ato ha, so when you look at t-test or when you're trying to parang check results na trying to compare two or more variables, you only look at the p-value to check if there is a difference or not. Okay, actually you can also look at the t-value, but when you're just trying to identify if there's a difference, look at the p-value. Okay, nakuha? Any questions sa comparison?
None so far.
Wala naman.
So
Sige.
far.
Now, let's go to the last topic of my last topic, no, before we end. Look at this one. This is the qualitative data analysis. Now, as I have mentioned earlier, that most of the discussions that were made by our reporters were actually focused on. Sorry na press. Wait lang. Okay. Now, most of the analysis that we have discussed a while ago actually focused on quantitative analysis. No? Wala siya sa qualitative analysis. So, with qualitative analysis, iba yung structure niya. No? You look at this one. This is as an example of a data analysis with qualitative data. Now, just like most of the quantitative analysis na methods, there are also a lot of ways in which you can analyze qualitative data. But this is a parang basic description of how it is done, no? So when you analyze data now, okay, sorry, before you go to the analysis of the data, of course you have to collect the data first, diba? Now, unlike the data gathering or data collection for the quantitative research, sa qualitative, the data collection is usually done through written or verbal questions or by observations. Okay, so usually interview or focus group discussion, and then you supplement your interview na data with observation data. So parang ganun. So that is how the data for the qualitative researches are being conducted. Okay. After collecting data, you have to analyze the data. Once again, same with what I said earlier, data is useless if you don't interpret it. And it is much more useless if the interpretation done was wrong. Okay, so yun. With the qualitative data, in order to analyze, the first step of analyzing it is actually to do the manifest analysis and latent analysis. This is too technical, but ang question lang actually niyan, the first thing that you're going to ask yourself is, what has been said? Ano yung binigay na data ng respondent sa'yo? Okay, so obviously the data here is not in numbers, diba? Wala siya naka 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The data that they will be giving to you is actually verbalizations. Okay, now after you have said, of course, may sinasabi sila, diba? You have to decontextualize the meaning. Decontextualize the meaning of the respondent. You also have to consider that, diba? Whenever we say something, you also have to say. You also have to ask yourself about what is the intended message that the respondent wants to say to you. Diba? You also have to remember that when you gather qualitative data, sometimes what we say is not really what we feel. Or what we say is sometimes not something that should not be literally interpreted. Diba? Example, sarcasm. Diba? We say something but iba talaga yung meaning natin. Okay, so you have to, when we analyze data, interview data specifically, we have to look at what has been said and what intended message is to be said. So the first stage is decontextualize. When you say decontextualize, we identify meaning units. We try to interpret. We try to get the gist of the interview data that we have gathered. That's the first step. No? So susulatin lahat ng sinabi ng respondent mo. No? You write all of the data. Then you interpret. You look at the data and you try to parang sift. Sasalain mo. Ano pala yung significant statements dito? Ano yung significant statements na binigay ng respondent sa akin? After looking at the significant statements, so you look at the meaning. Anong ibig sabihin ng respondents when they said this? Okay? So that's the decontextualization. The next one is after you have decontextualize the meaning units. No? Tiningnan mo na ano yung significant statements na binigay ng respondent sa iyo. You have to recontextualize. No? You have to add now. May significant statements ka. You have to assign formulated meanings to those statements. You have to, simply put, after looking at the significant statements of the respondents, ano for you yung sinabi nila that is important, na related sa research question mo, you have to add meaning sa kanilang sinabi. That's recontextualization. Then after you have added meaning or formulated meanings sa ating significant statements, the next thing that you're going to do is group the significant statements and formulated meanings according to their similarities or what we call as homogeneity. So ang tawag sa step na yan is what we call as categorization. Okay? Then after you have compiled them according to their similarity, you are now going to make themes, then you compile them. So you draw, after generating the themes, you draw realistic conclusions. That is what we call as compilation. So in other words, to simply put, ganito yung guys, steps. You get significant statements. Get significant statements. Number 2, you get formulated meanings. Okay? Significant statements, kukunin mo ano yung i-interpret mo, okay? Or assign ka ng anong palang ibig sabihin, anong gustong sabihin ng respondents ko. That's formulated meaning. After that, after you've gathered the formulated meanings, you have to group them according to their similarities, right? So the next thing is cluster themes. Generate cluster themes. Now, out of the themes, yung compilation, grupo-grupo na nagawa mo, you once again get a general theme that will emerge out of those cluster themes. Ang tawag doon is emergent themes. Okay? So this is how you analyze qualitative data. You start with the verbalization, you get the meaning you get the significant statement kasi hindi naman lahat ng sinasabi ng respondents natin important or relevant sa ating research question. So you get the significant statements, you assign formulated meanings, then after you have assigned formulated meanings, you get the commonality among those formulated meanings. Yung commonality na yon is what we call as the cluster themes. Yung cluster themes naman, if from the commonalities of your cluster themes, you generate another theme, and that is what we call as your emergent theme. So nakuha si data analysis. I know this is a somewhat simplified version of the qualitative analysis, but this is actually how the analysis should proceed. Okay? So any questions with the qualitative data analysis?
None, sir.
Wala naman. Sige, basing panggutom na po mo. Sige lang, later this afternoon, I will give you I will present a sample before the last topic. We will continue lang later. Ha? I believe konti na naman na si module 6. I looked at your slides earlier this morning. Gamay lang man siya, kaya naman siya within an hour. So actually after the report, we will now end. So continue lang ta later 1 p.m. Is it okay with everybody?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sige. So if that is the case, do you have question before we end?